We went to see Dune Part 2 today.
Dune 2.
Dune Part 2 because it's the same movie, but no one's gonna do a 6-hour movie. No one's gonna make money.
Dune 2.
Dune Part 2. Dune Part 2.
Sure.
Sure. Come on. What's up respect on the name?
Okay.
So, went to see Dune Part 2 today. Mm-hmm. And I'm more of a sci-fi enjoyer. I can't call myself a sci-fi fan anymore, but I'm a sci-fi enjoyer. Mm-hmm. Even though this doesn't have a lot of hard sci-fi elements on it because of the world. Right? And you're like, hey, I'll go with you.
Yeah, I like going to the movie theater experience.
You like the movie theater experience?
Yep. Plus
Okay.
they have recliner seats now, which are really nice.
They were really nice, yes. So, I'm gonna start, I know more about the lore and all that type of stuff. Mm-hmm. But I know this was like your first Dune experience.
Yeah, I saw, maybe 10 minutes of the first part,
Yeah, because I was watching it.
and then I fell asleep.
Yeah, I watched it a few days ago. And
And
then
then-
you fell asleep and then you went upstairs.
Yep. And
Right.
then I would like to note that I did fall asleep a couple of times throughout this movie in the theater.
Yeah, I was like, you're quiet. It's like, good, I want to focus on the movie,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
you didn't fall asleep. What part did you fall asleep in?
I don't know. I think there was one part where Florence Pugh was on the screen, and then I don't know. There was two other parts where I closed my eyes. I don't know if I actually fell asleep, but I definitely rested my eyes.
Jesus Christ.
One part I definitely did fall asleep for maybe 2 minutes.
Which part was it?
It was the one I can remember where I actually woke up and it was Florence Pugh on the screen.
Okay, so you didn't fall asleep during the Florence Pugh scene.
No, but I woke up and she was
The
on
Emperor.
the screen. Yeah,
That's the one with Christopher Walken was on screen too
Yeah.
with her. Okay.
Yeah.
So the Emperor and his daughter.
Yeah.
Right. So you woke up to the Emperor and daughter, but you fell asleep before.
Yes. I think.
So I'm imagining you fell asleep during one of the Fremen scenes where they were doing the whole
Maybe.
Messiah talk.
Probably.
Right.
Yeah.
Probably.
I don't know.
You don't even know. It was a blur. You were in and out.
I was in and out, and I was comfortable, and it was dark, and yeah. Sci-fi is not my cup of tea. I like horror sci-fi sometimes, like Alien and Aliens,
Yeah, but that's
but
among the best movies. Do you have any other examples of horror sci-fi that you enjoy?
Invasion of the Body Snatchers, I like that one.
I don't know if I don't think I'd qualify that as sci-fi.
Then no.
Because it's
I don't have
alien,
any
you got
other
alien
ones.
invasion, but you're not seeing the alien tech.
Okay, good
You get what I'm
point.
saying? You're not seeing any alien tech.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You're not seeing, you know what I mean? There's nothing going on there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I don't know. I guess then there's probably not much horror sci-fi that I actually like, but I don't know. I mean, so I did sit through most of this movie awake, but it was I don't know.
Jesus.
I'm struggling to find the words because I wasn't interested. There was a few parts that I did like.
Yeah.
I liked how every world had an aesthetic. There was the super pale vampire white ghost people
Yeah.
who didn't have any eyebrows or bald heads, and
I'm sure that's a House Harkonnen choice because
all black.
They were making distinctive. They were making each place distinctive. So,
Yeah.
because I think it's a studio choice for this one too. Because in some previous versions of Dune, they have hair.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People in House Harkonnen have hair because you had, what was it? I forget his name. Sting was one of the Harkonnen guys in a previous movie.
Sure.
I'm trying to remember his name. I hope it's Sting. In the 1984 movie. Mm-hmm. Or the miniseries. I don't know which one I'm thinking of right now.
I don't know.
But this is, it's an aesthetic choice, and I was saying that for the Harkonnen homeworld, the environment of the world, they did that thing where it's very, you know what I mean, the suns or whatever they have, whatever light source.
Yeah.
they have for those planets. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, that's true. And then obviously like the sandy ones were, all in kind of tans and yellows and grays and stuff. So yeah, that was pretty interesting. I also really liked. I remember talking to you about this on the car ride home about how, like, when the Dune people, like the sand people, I don't know, Fremen. Yep, sure, thank you. They were like buried in the sand, and then they had like the breather thing, like the stick breather thing, like poking out. So it kind of reminded me of like the last Avatar, where they were kind of using like the element to their advantage.
The last Avatar?
Last Airbender, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Like the Earth, the Earthbender or Waterbender.
Oh, okay. When you were talking about it, I thought you were talking about the
I couldn't remember the name of it.
James Cameron.
No, not the
Avatar
blue
movie.
people.
I thought you. That's what I thought you were talking about.
No, like they were like sand benders, like because they were using the worm, riding the worm, and buried in the sand, and then like they would strike and attack the enemies.
Yeah.
So I guess the last Avatar, I was trying
Avatar, the Last Airbender.
Yeah, okay, and they just kind of jumbled that together. But yeah, I was like Avatar, but like no, the Earth ones who can like move the Earth and like adjust that. So I really liked that.
Like them using
tubes
their to breed. Yeah. Like their guerrilla tactics then.
Yeah. I did like that. Okay. Because they were very in tune with their environment, and I don't know if it was Zendaya's character said it something like, you're not from here, you don't know how like to use the desert or something. One of the lines. I was like, yeah, I can see now why she said that. Because they're trained in sand, basically.
Yeah, he's a quick study. He's been studying about it. I like the scene where she was telling him how to walk in the sand properly without attracting the attention, without having a steady rhythm, so he wouldn't attract the sandworms to the location.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, it wasn't like that in the things I read."
Yeah.
And she just gave him the look.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, yep." It's like, I'm here with an actual Fremen.
Yeah.
It's not like a book of someone who tried. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that was nice. I think that's probably one of the better things I've seen on Zendaya's side. As in, it was pretty nice storytelling. I think the choices of who they had come in were pretty interesting, except for Anya Taylor-Joy. At one point in, I saw her like she's in there for like 2 seconds, but I saw her pop up with a trademark upper lip. And I just laughed a bit, and I wasn't laughing at her being in the movie.
Yeah.
I was laughing at seeing her in so many things. I was like, oh, of course she's in this.
Yeah.
Type of laugh.
Yeah.
And then they had Christopher Walken as the Emperor. And then later on, he was talking throughout. He's in a couple scenes, and then near the end, he's talking to some people, and it goes into a distinctly Christopher Walken cadence of talking. Yeah. And I laughed a little bit, too.
Yeah, you were the only one that laughed in the movie theater. It was pretty funny, just that. Because I knew exactly why you were laughing, too.
I was like, I was walking in the... I don't know, however he does it. But it was like, distinctly classic Christopher Walken cadence. And he hadn't done that in any of his previous scenes to the same extent. Yeah. So it caught me. I couldn't suppress that one.
Yeah, I getcha.
And then the rest of it was pretty interesting. I was talking about the pacing. You're saying that it didn't need to be a 3-hour movie. Saying.
Yeah, it just felt a little long. But then again, not being a sci-fi fan or having like, fully understanding the first part, it just felt a little too long for me. And then, again, hence why I fell asleep, too.
You mean the 10 minutes of the first one you watched?
Yeah.
You didn't, no, I wonder why you didn't fully understand the first
movie. I put my time in on the long movie. I watched all the Lord of the Rings with you, and then I fell asleep during the first one, and you made me watch it again. So I've done my time on the long movie.
Yeah, because I gave you a quiz, and you couldn't answer. And then you were going to make... Because you were like, hey, I'll watch Lord of the Rings. I had the extended cut
Yeah,
DVDs.
if you watch all of the Halloween movies.
If I watch all the Halloween movies, some of which are
about the same amount of time.
Yeah, and some of these Halloween movies were super garbage.
Yeah.
Right? So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna be awake watching the Halloween movies.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna fall asleep, you're cheating. If you're gonna fall asleep through the movies, like, I just got my beauty rest, and then I woke up and movie's over. It's like, oh well, that, yeah, you know,
I love that.
Your turn. Like, nah, come on, bro.
No, I get that.
I think I quizzed you today too a little bit. I was like, hey, which Gandalf came first? Mm-hmm. The gray one or the white one?
The gray one. And I gave you the reasoning why I knew, because one, I've seen the movie twice now.
You didn't see the movie twice.
Yeah.
You didn't see the movie twice.
I was awake during the first one.
You saw it 1.5 times. You saw the trilogy 1.5 times.
Great.
And your reasoning for why Gandalf the Grey...
Grandaf. Grandaf.
Damn right. It's more fun. Like, I know it's Gandalf. Like, come on. It's more fun. Your reasoning why Gandalf the Grey... Gandalf is grey first before he's white...
Yeah.
Is such a hack job.
No.
It's a hack job reason of why. It's you know, like, I could tell you were creative with your math problems when you were in high school.
Yeah, well, I was good at math. So
well,
I was
you know.
Advanced.
So that was interesting. It was a fun reason. That's got nothing to do with the actual story.
Whatever.
But it's a fun reason to remember why.
Yeah, it's fine.
What'd you say? You said...
Oh, I said that there's no, so you only see, like, Gandalf, the white, like...
Gandalf.
I know it's Gandalf.
Okay, cool.
It's just funny.
Yeah.
So you don't see Gandalf the white until, like, close to the end, when they're battling on that tower thing.
Oh, you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that because I've seen the movie one and a half times.
There you go.
But it was like, it makes no sense for him to be, Gandalf the White the entire movie because he's got to deal with the Hobbit. So, of course, he's going to be wearing gray because, they got second breakfast and second meals and second dinners and all that. It's going to get messy being with all the Hobbits. There's so much food all of the time.
Yeah, I love that reasoning. I love that reasoning that you had for that. That was pretty fun.
But yeah, no. So I mean, it was fine. There was elements I liked and I could find to enjoy it. I mean,
what?
I did already share the elements.
That's all the elements you enjoyed.
That's really
that nearly throughout the movie. That's all you enjoyed.
Yeah.
Oh Jesus, the heavy side.
I mean, the costuming was kind of interesting to look at, like and then you explaining the purpose behind the suits, with the water and like kind of retaining all the water and all the moisture, and then like the little thing with the nose. That was pretty cool.
The still suits, how the still suits work.
Yeah.
Yeah. They had
and the
talked
aesthetics.
about it in the first one, but you didn't watch that one really.
Oh yeah, and I also appreciated Dave Bautista because, like, I was saying how he kind of transitioned.
Raban.
What?
Raban. That's his character name.
Sure.
Just it's more for anyone listening.
Okay, Raban. Yeah. But I appreciated how he kind of transitioned. I think he was like a wrestler or somebody, like an athlete of some kind. I don't remember. But like how he transitioned to acting and how like he was in Guardians of the Galaxy and he kind of like, had the comedy element and then, you could kind of take him seriously like as like in this serious role. Mm-hmm. And I think he did a better job of transitioning to acting than The Rock. I think The Rock is like pretty like... stereotype, like he does comedies or he's like the action star with the big muscles and stuff, whereas Dave Bautista's like, yeah, sure, I'll be this like,
hulking brute,
character type in this like, Guardians of the Galaxy. His character was pretty fun.
And then now he's
this one, a hulking brute,
anger issues.
With anger issues, yeah. So that's kind of cool to see. And then it was also trying to figure out who the actors were, and some of the roles too. Like, oh, this person popped up. So. Okay,
yeah. Have you seen Dave Bautista in Blade Runner 2049?
No. No, thank you.
No, thank you. Wow.
I watched part of it because that's the
You're
one
dodging that movie too, huh?
I think I watched
It's the same director, by the way.
Yeah, so and it's also super long, too.
It is super long.
I remember watching, like, a few minutes of it because, it has Ryan Gosling and Harrison Ford, and I just, I don't know. It was very dystopian, and I couldn't follow it, or I didn't want to follow it. I don't even think I finished it with you.
Yeah, it's. I think that I remember when we got out, you were talking about how it could be cut down. I think we mentioned it maybe a little bit
Yeah.
earlier, but I told you that I didn't think there was much room for it to be cut down
Yeah.
because they had to build. They had to give it enough time to breathe to build up how important
Right.
the Messiah prophecy thing had been and like what it actually means to the Fremen. So it actually fleshed out the Fremen a lot more
Yeah.
in this, which did take up some time, and I think it was slower paced than some of the rest of stuff going
Yeah.
on. But I was saying like I think it was necessary. Like, if not, then the impact of what's happening here would have been a lot more diminished.
Yeah.
And also too, if you had cut some stuff, I think the pacing would have been a lot more frenetic, where it would be hard to follow, like you said,
Right.
for that other one. But I would say for Blade Runner 2049, I think there was a lot of opportunities where you could have shortened some establishing shots or just long cuts and
Yeah.
stuff like that. I think that was much more of a candidate for getting cut down a little bit here and there
Yeah.
over the course of the movie than this one is.
Yeah. I mean, and despite not having watched the first part, I could follow what was going on.
Yeah, actually, that's good. Like, most movies are supposed to be like that.
Right. But I mean, that's another reason why I don't care for sci-fi is because it's the same storyline. It's like, different groups of people or different types of human species, alien, people, and there's like one savior, one hero, prophecy, who is probably from a rich family, and then there's all these enslaved people, and then, they're trying to, take over the galaxy or take over a certain world and stuff. It's just like, it's different flavors of the same thing.
Have you seen Event Horizon?
No.
We should watch that because it's sci-fi and it's got other things going on. I think maybe there might be a possibility. There's a through line to what you're saying for a lot of stuff that came along. I think we were talking about that Dune is pretty old relatively.
Yeah.
I think it came out. I'm trying to remember if it came out in the 60s or the 80s or something like that. But it's at least, I want comfortably at least 40 years
Yeah.
old. The story itself.
Right.
And it was pretty big. And it continues to be pretty big.
Yeah.
They've done
I get
multiple
that.
versions of it. So I'm just saying, like, I think there's a lot of beats in Dune that other stories have borrowed from. So you've
I
seen the
bet,
beats before.
Yeah, and I'm sure that, since this was based on a book, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure that there are elements in the book that don't translate as well on screen, or maybe that are omitted because it doesn't make for a good story, but it would probably be a more compelling, part of the story. It's just like visually it's probably not as stunning, or it's too expensive or something.
Nah, I was honestly, when I watched the first one, I was thinking that the '84 version was superior, but watching the two of these, rewatching the first part of Dune that this director did, Denis Villeneuve,
Yeah.
and this one here, so we kind of got to wrap up some threads that started in the first one. Yeah, the subtlety of certain things, which lines up with the lore of how technology is approached in the world of Dune. Well, not just Dune, but
Right.
that whole, that whole universe, the universe in that series of books.
Right.
I think it's better visually translated, the minimalism with which they have technology and stuff.
Is it it's a series of books? It's
It
not
is a series of books. I think it's about 6 or 7.
Oh, I thought it was based on one book.
No.
Oh.
Actually, no. There's 6 or 7 books written by Frank Herbert, right? And then his son Bryant Herbert did a few more. I think he did about 5. I could be wrong here, but there is the original canon that Frank Herbert himself wrote,
Right.
and then there is I don't know if they call it extended canon that Brian Herbert wrote, and I saw Brian Herbert's name with two other Herbert names. There was like three Herbert names I saw in the credits as producers, so
Yeah.
they kind of helped make sure it's true to the books type of thing.
Right.
But you're translating mediums. But yeah, it's a series of books. Remember, similar to like right now, I'm going through the Dark Tower audiobooks.
Yeah.
So I didn't know anything about Dark Tower at first. I started collecting the comics because they were miniseries and it was cool. I was thinking at the time, I wouldn't be, I wouldn't have this whole big setup. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm doing a comics, it's like, okay, issue 1, it's a miniseries. I could have 5, 6 issues, and then that's it. It won't take up too much space. Cause at the time, we were in
small
apartments, moving every year.
Yeah.
I don't want my stuff to get damaged. And ended up being, they kept putting out miniseries parts of the story for 8 years altogether.
Jesus.
But now I'm going through the books, and it's like, okay, hey, some of the miniseries over the course of the 8 years that it was released, they're going over what happened in the books, and then they're also fleshing out certain aspects that the books didn't shed too much light on.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? So when I'm finished with the audiobooks, I'm going to have to go through that comic series. I'm going to have to go through my collection of that again, because there's a lot of things, But anyway, yeah, there's a lot of content for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get the point. You get the point. But I think I didn't move too much, really. I was like absorbing everything, paying attention to as much stuff as possible as there.
Yeah.
It's way more up my alley.
Yeah.
I don't go to the movies that much.
No, but you should go. Like, we should go for big movies like this. You really wanted to see it, so
I don't care if it's big. I care if that's right up my alley.
Yeah. Well, and we'll go when something's right up my alley too.
Yeah, like we have been. Jesus.
Well, like we have been. Like we haven't for you either.
Like what? Like what? Like what?
John Wick 4.
That was a group thing.
I wanted to see it too.
That was a group thing. But yeah, so I'll check it out again. I'm not sure. I'm thinking if I should watch it again in theaters actually right now, but I don't know. But it's kind of interesting, and I know it wasn't up your alley, but thanks for being a trooper.
Yeah, I like the movie theater experience. I always go to the movies.
Get a good rest.
Yeah, get a good rest.
Rest your eyes.
Take a little nap.
Yeah. But I like how I did it. I think you said at the end of it that you're like, oh yeah, there's got to be a part 3, right?
Yeah, they kind of, it seemed like they were leading that, hey, there will be a part 3 where they talk about, like, they get into, like, the holy wars with, like, the house, like, the royal houses or the great houses, whatever they called them. So, I mean, there's always a possibility that it could be, like, a 3-part. I know it's not a trilogy because they're not, like, sequential, because it's the same movie, but...
Well, I don't
know. But then you mentioned...
There was a possibility of
it. But then you mentioned it did seem like they kind of wrapped everything up, so if they don't, then that's a fine place to end.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, because I was saying that the main established counterpoints were established in this time, in this version of the movie, was primarily, main antagonist, was mainly House Harkonnen and the Emperor by extension.
Right.
Right? And his Sardaukar, like his army, the Sardaukars.
Yeah.
They got dealt with, the Emperor got dealt with, and the Harkonnens largely got dealt with as a house. You know what I'm saying? No spoilers in that aspect. Get out of here.
Yeah.
I already spoiled a bunch of stuff. But, like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like they'd have to, like, there's certain things they could set up, but if they did a part 3, they would kind of be doing certain things from scratch, like certain things they could continue, like maybe showing more of the Southern Fremen setup, like how they have things there, maybe, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In terms of the scope of what they set up here, like there's a lot more for them to do. I think the previous visual movies have gone into it, where they get into the kids, and then you know what I'm saying. So like they could easily do a stuff because it's been done visually before, like Children of Dune type of thing. Like
Oh, that sounds familiar.
yeah, James McAvoy was in that one. You never seen it?
Nope.
Ooh.
Do you like James McAvoy?
Oh, could be a draw.
Maybe. I don't know.
We'll see. All right, we'll see. Anyway.
Anyways.
All right, you good?
Yeah.
Yeah, you look like you were good 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, I was good like an hour and a half into that movie. I'm just kidding. I'm
You
just
were.
kidding.